I just did a video on how to do charity. So this is for people who are trying to raise money for charity, right? I'm on both sides sometimes. So first of all, try raising money for an individual rather than trying to raise money for an NGO. It is very difficult to say we are doing something in girls' education, for example. But it is easy to say, this is Shobana, she is 7 years old, she is a daughter of a commercial sex worker, she needs money for her school books, 300 rupees, she needs for this, for her dress, 700 rupees for this, right? So if you break it up, you will find somebody saying, okay, I'll sponsor this kid for 1 year, that is 20,000 rupees, or I will pay 300 rupees for books, I'll pay 700 rupees for something. Now you have to then draw a line between, do you want to go and ask 300 and 500 and 700, or only ask for a big amount. Both have their pluses and minuses, because when you say 300 rupees, it's possible that even a 7th standard child or an 8th standard child can give some donation. But when you say minimum 20,000 rupees or 25,000 rupees, you're reducing the size of your audience. You have to find a solution between the two, because even a 300 rupee donation will mean you get the money, you have to account for it, you have to issue a receipt. A lot of it can happen automatically, but then you have to invest in that software. So you have to find out what suits you, but largely identifying somebody and then saying, okay, you sponsored Shobana, and Shobana has got the 19th rank in the school, she has done well, this is her video. You can keep doing that kind of stuff, so that people know how their money is being used. So this is very useful. So this is one, appealing to the individual rather than to a big group. It's very difficult to donate to a big group. People are happy to donate money maybe because there is a calamity, right? If there is a calamity, people donate money, but again be careful. Certain communities don't attract donations as much as certain other communities do. So if you say, oh, in Myanmar some community is being persecuted, will people give money for that? I don't know. People will see them, oh, this is a problem, I'm not even naming them, this is a problem, so I should not donate. So people are very fussy and sticky about what they will do and what they will not do. And remember, asking for charity, they are doing you a favor. You have to be very polite, very nice, and you cannot have very strong political views, especially if it is very different from what the other person's views are. So be careful about what you are talking. So say this is a cause for which we are raising money, they have been thrown out of their homes, their houses have to be rebuilt, etc., etc. Of course there are people who don't want to give, who will say, oh, there is so much to be done for our own country, why are you doing it for some other country, or things like that. Then you could raise money for dogs and cat and other animals. That is also very there. I think what organization should do is appeal to children and say, look, animals can't even ask for money, so you should do something. And so then get kids to volunteer, go door to door, create some boxes where people can give 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 20 rupees. Believe me, it's a big hassle collecting small donations, but you don't have a choice. Initially, at least at least when people put cash in a dabba, they 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 100 rupees, even 500 rupees, they are not looking for some ATG certificate or things like that. So you can go to 10 kids in your neighborhood and say, can you raise money for us? And then let us try what is to be done. So that is another way of raising money. For some people feel emotionally very hurt when something happens, like tsunami. When tsunami happened, all of us wanted to open our purse and see what we could do to reduce the impact or to help those kids, right? Whether we could send them clothes, whether you could send them school studying material, whatever, something you wanted to do. And I found that the best thing to do was to give money to the persons who are working, because they were inundated with things. So I decided I would give money to a cousin of mine, who was working with those people. She had lost, she was teaching children, some of those children were lost. And so giving money to her without saying specifically buy this, buy that was more useful, because it had to be paid. The money could be used for the volunteers' stay costs, volunteers' food costs, etc., right? So how to use the money, people could decide. When people have a choice, people react two ways. One is to say, okay, let the NGO decide because they know what is good at, and some they say no, specifically it should go only towards this, which is both right, nothing right or wrong with both of the approaches. Some people say my money should not be used for administrative purposes. That's fine, but remember, administration cost is also something which NGOs have to incur. You need an accountant, you need a manager, you need an office, you need to pay rent. Nothing comes free. So if you have space, please give that space to an NGO at a concessional rate. If 50,000 rupees is the rate, give it to them at 20,000 rupees. Some of these things are ways of giving for charity, and if you are a charitable organization, you should ask for things from people. Do you have an office which we can use? What are you doing with the old AC that you don't need? What are you doing with your old TV? When you upgrade your TV, what will you do with your old television? Some of our schools need it, right? So any of those things, collecting things from people is much easier. Collecting things from organizations is much easier. You can always go to H&R Johnson and say, can you give tiles for our temple? Can you give tiles for our orphanage, for our old age home, whatever? They are happy to do that. I collected tiles from H&R Johnson, and I collected a lot of the sinks and the toilets from E.I.D. Parry. E.I.D. Parry said, look, we have some of this stuff which we made, which are in colors which are not acceptable in the market. So we have, this is junk for us. So we are going to give it away to charity. So I collected that, right? So these are some of the ways in which you can collect money for charity and collect things, especially if you are constructing something, if you are building a new temple, if you are building an orphanage, any of these things. A lot of stuff is more easy to get. When people have this identity that I'm giving it to this community, sometimes they tell, sometimes they say, no, don't collect for a particular community. So how people will react is very difficult. But you can always go to a community and say, oh, can your whole community raise money for me? Jains are very well organized. A lot of Gujaratis are well organized. A lot of South Indians are well organized. I wouldn't know too much about the others. So when you go to a place like that, somebody whom you know will allow you to talk to them, address them. So address them and see what you can do with them. A lot of things can be done for raising money like that, right? I have not seen, but I'm sure it is available now, that you can do charity in an SIP. You can go to somebody and say, can you give me 500 rupees a month? That sounds much smaller than saying, can you give me 2 lakhs over the next 30 years or 40 years or 20 years, right? So don't ask for a big amount for a long period of time. Just say, can you give me 500 rupees a month? Most of us can. Right, so then make sure that you sign up in such a way that every month 500 rupees is debited from that person's account. Just like how that person makes an investment in the mutual fund, he can come and invest 500 rupees with you. I did this during COVID time, because during COVID time I had no clue how much money who needs, right? Everybody say, oh, that kid's parents have died, the kids are 17 years of age, can you give 20,000 rupees? I said, I will not give 20,000 rupees, but I'll give 1,000 rupees per month for 2 years, right? So it was 24,000, effectively the same thing. But I thought that, you never know how this money could get used, how it could. So here, whether it is giving or whether it is checking, asking people to give on a monthly basis is easier. People are happier giving on a monthly basis because they are earning on a monthly basis. They don't mind giving on a monthly basis, right? Make sure that you make your donor feel good. Maybe you take photographs of the children they are supporting. Take photographs with your organization's logo, with the donor and the kid which is being helped. Make sure that you put those photographs on social media. Ask your donor to put it to his circle of friends, which will mean that all his friends will come and say, hey, this is not a bad idea, can I also give 500 rupees on my birthday? So every birthday 500 rupees will be debited from my account. Then you say, no, do it on a monthly basis, do it on a yearly basis, right? So get your existing volunteers and existing donors to talk about it, champion it, have a social media presence, right? Have a social media presence, make sure all your photographs are visible to people. Once you start doing all this, then you build up momentum, then your existing donors will get new donors, their kids could get you new donors, right? Those are the ways how which an NGO will look for raising money, right? There are things which you can do by saying, oh, there's this marathon being organized. For every kilometer that you run, XYZ company is going to give 10 rupees, right? So somebody runs 21 kilometers, you get 210, or somebody says, okay, they are giving 10 rupees, we are giving 100 rupees. So some other company sponsors, so then you find volunteers will sign up with 1, 2, 3 companies and start collecting money for you. What have they done? They have not given any money, but they have ran and they tagged themselves to a particular brand, and that brand made a donation on their behalf. Perfectly fine, especially if you've got young kids who want to be part of you. They don't have the money, but there is somebody, Mr. Moneybags, who is willing to give. So you let these kids run, and let the people with money start doing the donation, right? So any of these things, whatever you do to raise money, if the cost is good, after 2, 3, 4 years, people do come in, people do volunteer, people do give money, and there are various other things you can do. You can say, oh, we have an annual gathering, can you please come? You have to pay for your travel and for your stay, and while you are at it, can you book 2 rooms, because some of our volunteers can't afford the hotel charges. And you will find people saying, okay, 3,000 for a room, I'll book 2 rooms, I'll book 3 rooms, right? So you will have some extra money available for your other volunteers who don't have money to stay, right? Or you say, okay, my people who are volunteering their time don't have to volunteer money in terms of stay. That is for people who are donating money, they can donate 1 more room for us, right? So any of these combinations work. It's a very interesting thing to raise money for charities. So if you're young, and you have never done it, I think you should do it. It's a fantastic experience. You will learn a lot. So there is a lot of learning that you do by associating yourself with an NGO, and learning and earning, and in the sense that you will earn experience, and make sure that you don't take money. Your contribution is your skill. Thank you.